Well, any other reactions that Gillian? No, you, yes. Were you looking to me as if you had a reaction, or did I just put you on the spot?
You know, I can generate a reaction if you'd like me to.
What do I do here, Sheena? Do I give her the choice? Do I take it away from her?
Well, let me just say something. I don't have.
Right. Well, I'm not going to pay her for this.
I guess one of the, you know, I'm keeping with the theme of sort of trying to sift all of the things that we heard today, which it was such a rich discussion, and I'm trying to sort of figure out which side is up and which side is down. But one of the things I was struggling with during the course of the day, and I guess what I would perhaps be interested to do is not so much say how I resolved it, but invite further conversation on this topic. Is whether, having identified the incredible power of the sort of the market schema and the freedom schema, is the lesson that we take from today, especially given the use of psychology and close observation of how people respond within different kinds of contexts in the market setting, is the lesson that if we subvert the idea of the naturalness and the inevitability of the market schema, do we then try to operate outside it or push against it? And I think, you know, Doug Kaiser's remarks, Stephen Marglin's remarks clearly seem to suggest, you know, we ought to be thinking outside a schema in which commensurability is a mechanism by which we can make cost and benefit analysis, or you know, the algorithmic method of thinking is really a method in which we ought to be thinking. Or do we understand better how people behave within that paradigm? The psychological work, I think, helps us to say, you know, within this particular frame, how do people think about choice? You know, let's have a more granular analysis of how people within the existing dominant framework really think. And once we understand that better, then we might be able to bring normative values into play in how to frame ideas, how to design institutions. And so I guess that's the thing I'm sort of struggling with is, you know, do we redefine the paradigm, or do we understand the paradigm, or do we try better to understand how we behave within the paradigm and then push back against it within the paradigm based on our normative presuppositions or well-defended normative positions?
Michael or Ben? Michael and then Ben.
Go first, Ben.
Yeah, I did briefly, and just to pick up on what Gillian just said. So the thing that I come away with most interested, and this is from a perspective of someone who's interested in both the labor movement specifically, but also in law and social change more broadly, and that is the question of the malleability of these ideologies and the malleability of the market frame. So I thought it was interesting because you framed the conference in a sense with the Greenspan quote. And so the Greenspan quote is sort of an iteration of malleability, right? Things change in the world and the ideology changes. I thought, Judge Posner had sort of constituted a different position on that, which was the world can turn upside down and the frame doesn't change. And so what's fascinating, I'm not saying which one is right. What's fascinating to me is to think about why and under what conditions these frames do shift. And my sense is that we're at a moment where we're going to figure some of that out. And it'll be just as we were in the 30s. And it'll be interesting to see that, and it'll be really interesting and important to think about how law can both move that process along and then take advantage of the opening in the ideology that maybe we'll have in the next few years.
I'm going to interject something here, and that is for the legal historians. So I have this strong sense that what legal historians do is just sort of social psychology with another group. That is, I'm sorry, you can't hear me? I have this strong sense that what legal historians do is just social psychology for another group. And when you're identifying what is visible and what is invisible, that you're identifying ideologies and what's moving things in fact as compared to what people think is moving things, that you're really you're generating insights and reaching conclusions that have a lot in common with what social psychologists do when they have people in a lab and they test them and see what they noticed and what they didn't and how they justified something and what really moved them as compared to what they said moved them, that sort of thing. But I also have a sense that there is some way in which you can be particularly helpful in responding to Ben's suggestion, which is that these tipping points of ideology. What are the moments when things change and why? Jamie did a nice job of trying to look over time, but a real constraint for social psychologists is that they are often dealing with a present group of subjects at a given moment within a given mindset, whereas you get to watch it over time. And yet I don't think that your ideology of history, that is what you're allowed to do as a historian, is to bring a lot of this work to what you do. But I wish that weren't true, one, and I wonder if you have any thoughts about what you think the tipping points are for major shifts in ideology, if there's any insight that you've gained from the areas you've looked at. Chris, do you want to take a stab at that? Or?